I have shown many different ways and materials to use to create a stone-like texture, but today I'm going to demo how I do a stone texture with the cheapest materials, easiest materials possible. Now I am starting with a paper mache pumpkin. I need to cut the stem out. You see these cute little stone looking pumpkins? Uh, you think, wow, that's a pretty good deal. Glazed stoneware pumpkin, $12. Yeah, they're teeny tiny, as you can see now in the picture there to the left. So I've got the stem out. Actually, I was just examining how they made it. I always find that curious. Now, in addition to the paper mache pumpkin, I also have this paper mache pear and a little house, and also a little vessel with a lid. I'm not doing the house and the vessel right now. I'll eventually probably do them, but I was just showing you options. I also have this clay pot. Now, all of these things are considered porous. If they were not porous, you would need to put a primer coat on them, which I'll be showing you that in a little bit with some other objects. Now, I want some things that I'm going to embed into the texture. That first thing is like turf grass. I got it from Hobby Lobby when I was making dioramas and things. That's what I used. That second little cup was just parsley flakes. And of course, for a beautiful color, we can add some cinnamon, some crushed red pepper flakes, and then this last thing I really didn't like. It was too bulky looking, but it's just some little stone things that I got from Hobby Lobby, again used in the diorama for roadways. And the product I'm using is very simply drywall compound. Now I am using the quick set, and I've got a rag there that I'm wetting because this is messy and I want to be able to clean up whatever I need to clean up. Now the quick set you can get, of course, in powdered form, and it comes in several times that it will set up, like 5 and 20 and 45 and 90. My husband is a drywall man, so he keeps this around. This is some 20-minute that he dumped in that sour cream container for me because it's a big bag and it's a little bit heavy. You need to wear gloves because this is, unless you don't mind being super messy, you just add water to it. Now remember, I'm only going to have 20 minutes before this starts to set up. I mixed it just to a consistency that I thought would be good. This is a little bit thinner than the mixture I use on the pumpkin. I made it a little bit thicker. So I'm just smearing it around. I'm not covering the bottom. You could, but then you'd need to sand it to make sure it sits flat. Not only am I just wiping and covering the pear, but also the stem. And do the same thing at the same time here with the pot. Now it's going to start setting up. By the time I finish the pot, the pear is already starting to set up a little bit, which is what you want, because then you're going to, or if you like this, you're going to sprinkle on some of those organic materials. Now, as it starts to set up, I cleaned my hands here and I had wet them and I was kind of smoothing some of it down. But as it starts to set up, you just start to sprinkle on and kind of pat it in. Just whatever you want to do, whatever colorways. Now I do end up going in, after this sets up a little bit, I do end up going in with an additional coat to kind of lighten and embed all of that stuff I'm putting on right there. Now, I did say that this is 20 minute. It's 20 minute for setting it up. It's not 20 minute for drying. It's going to take a full 24 hours for this thing to completely dry and cure. So there's the pear. See, I spritzed my hand with a little water there, so I'm starting to kind of smooth down that drywall compound so it's not quite so rough looking. And then again, just picking out what I want to sprinkle on and patting it in. It doesn't come off. You might think it would, but it really doesn't, especially because I went in with a second coat. Now, I've already done the pumpkin, but what I'm showing you is everything that I used on the pumpkin, but I also added that right there. That is called, well, it's from Faux Effects, and it's called Rotten Stone, but it's basically just a bunch of ground limestone. I know that Dixie Belle product makes something kind of like that. I don't know if it's Amy Howard, or there are several companies out there that make those powdered looking things, but I wanted to add a little bit of gray. Now I'm going in with a second coat here, and this time instead of straight water, I thought, hey, why don't I add a little coffee water? So that's what I'm doing. I just thought it'd be fun to try and see, just to give a little bit more of a tan texture on top. Of course, it dries lighter than it looks when it goes on. You wouldn't have to do a second coat, but I wanted to give some areas that I thought it was too dark maybe, or too much stuff on it. So I just kind of here and there smeared it on the pumpkin and on the pear and on the clay pot. Now at this point you could totally leave your finish just exactly like it is, but I'm going to be doing more to them. For the clay pot, I decided I just wanted to tone it a little bit, and I am using Paint Couture brown sugar glaze on that. Just kind of, you can see I'm not hitting every spot. I'm just kind of dragging it along, which it catches on some of the texture there, and then I just kind of use a damp paper towel to smooth it in a little bit and make it not so severe. And now I'll show you some close-ups of what it looks like and where I put it in my kitchen. For the pear, I thought, even though mine's textured and stone would be pretty, these are gorgeous. They're from Olive Atelier marble pears. $51 for the set, $35, and they're for one, and they're sold out. Who's going to pay that for a pear? So I decided to go a little bit different route than just that kind of solid tannish color that they had on that marble. So I am using acrylic paints, and I am mixing it with DIY liquid patina, because that's kind of like mixing a glaze. It allows you to blend colors a lot better. So I started with the stem just in a brown. I think I used bittersweet chocolate on that in terms of color. And then for the pear part, I kind of wanted it to fade like a pear was ripening. So at the top I started with a green, and then I kind of went to oranges and a little bit of a brown at the bottom. You might notice that I have two brushes there. That brush right there, I am just dipping into the liquid patina and smoothing it out. So my next color was kind of a clay color, and I kind of mixed it with the green. again, blending. And now more of the solid clay type color at the bottom, and I will be blending that again. After the pear had dried, I wanted to give it just a little bit richer tone. So again, I'm using Paint Couture's glaze brown sugar, just applying that and blending, dabbing it off. After that, I added some little specks to the pear, just again using that dark brown paint and a little water and fan brush. And thinking about what I wanted to do with the pumpkin, I do love the stone texture, but I saw these pumpkins on Pottery Barn. It looks like a ceramic colored part on the top half and stone on the bottom. And I thought, well, that might be cool. So again, using DIY's liquid patina and some acrylic paints, I did the same technique on the top third, maybe half of the pumpkin that I did with the pear. Both for the pear, it's supposed to kind of resemble marble, and the top half of the pumpkin, which I would say is really more of a ceramic look, they needed to be shiny. My go-to for shine is Pintart's varnish. It is a solvent based, and it does give a very nice shine. So I coated both the pear and the top part, the painted part of the pumpkin in that product. Now let's take a look at where these items were placed in our home. Got some other things here that I want to make into stone that are not porous surfaces. If you're familiar with when these candles first came out, this is the Luminara brand, which was an expensive brand, and I have 3 of them. They have really yellowed over time. They're not white anymore, which I do not like. And then this one, it has been knocked over so many times by my husband and Cooper, the dog, and our previous German Shepherd, Charlie. These are expensive candles, especially in this size. Good grief. I have glued this several times and it's still not stuck. Okay. Anyway, I have this pomegranate that came out of an old flower arrangement. This one I think I got at Hobby Lobby years ago. I don't know that I'm going to do a stone effect on these. I have a different idea in mind, but they need to be primed anyway. So before I decide what I'm going to do with these, and I got to prime this stuff anyway, I'm just going to prime those too. Although those would also be cool in a stone finish. But I'm going to use Pintart's bonding primer just to make sure that everything is going to stick. Speaking of stick, I'm going to poke a hole in this one. Make it a lot easier for me to handle and for it to dry. I'm not going all the way up here, because I kind of like that brownish stuff at the top. I'm coating these again because this bonding primer is not supposed to look that translucent. So apparently I hadn't mixed it. It's been a while since I used it, so it needed to be stirred. So doing this again. These will have to dry for 24 hours. After the bonding primer had dried for 24 hours, again, I'm just doing the same thing using the Quickset drywall. I'm mixing it a little thicker though for the candles, and we're just going to see how that cracked up candle works out. After the first coat had dried, again, I added a second coat here and there and mixed it a little bit thinner. I actually allowed these candles to dry for a couple of days. 24 hours would have been enough, but I have other things going on too. At this point, it was a little too bumpy looking for me, so I came in with some sandpaper. Yeah, I did end up sanding off some of the organic material that I had put in it, but I had put a lot, so it really didn't matter. I liked the look that I was getting at this point with sanding somewhat. Now I could leave the texture on these candles exactly as they are, but I kind of never do that. So using Pintart's products, and this doesn't make it a tiny bit more expensive. They have two texture products that I really like. Um, Loft Spackle, and then they have Structure Paste. Structure Paste is quite gritty, and Loft Spackle is much smoother. So just using the Loft Spackle, and I didn't mix. I just put a couple of paint colors there on my palette, and I would pick up a little bit of the spackle, a little bit of the paint, and just using a small trowel, troweling it on the sides of all the candles. And I'm really loving how this looks. You know, this technique is a great little way to revamp something old and make it look very new. I love how these candles turned out, and it fixed my broken candle very easily without any issue. I hope you got some good ideas from this video. If you're not subscribed to my channel, I sure would appreciate it if you think about it. It would help out my channel tremendously. And as always, bye, keep looking up, and have a good one.